Hi, you guys. This is Tina Rojas, and today we will be discussing Feeding America and the document titled Understanding Feeding America Elementary School Based Food Pantries. So, this document itself is very informational, provides a desperate need for people who live in insecure food homes. And this expands from young children all the way through the elderly and everything in between. They have a lot of different services like mobile trucks that deliver food to folks, and it's just very cool. So, moving on from that, the layout is very effective and very clear and concise to understand. It starts with an introduction, which kind of answers the questions to the why and the how of the program. And it goes into great detail about how many Americans really go hungry and live in these homes where they aren't sure if they're going to have food. So, then it goes into greater detail about how many people Feeding America really impacts. It's a very powerful introduction. So, I think it's really great. Moving on from that, they go into the data and methodology section, which is really great. It kind of discusses how they collected data, which is through a lot of interviews and surveys, and they do recipient and non-recipient surveys, which is really cool, and they break that down. And this information is then provided to you in the form of charts. So yeah, that's very interesting, and they kind of go into some greater detail as to how they went about doing that, and who gave the interviews, and how long they were, and even down to the information that they give Target gift cards at the end of it to the folks doing the surveys. So moving on from that section, then there is 4 results sections. So it kind of talks about the outcomes of some of the things that were implemented in the program. So there's an administration and management section, there's a client experience section, there's a describing food distributed, and a quality and quantity of the food. These sections are very useful because it kind of describes some of the outcomes of the program and also some of the things that might have or that could go differently. And that is further discussed in the recommendation section. After these 4 results sections, it is then a discussion is then provided, which is really unique and cool about the program itself and kind of the things that are going on and how all of it works. So it's very cool. And then at the end in the recommendation section, there's somewhat of a survey that kind of guides the person reading the document through some questions that gets them thinking or might provide some information that's helpful and beneficial to the program so that they can essentially make an evaluation and progress and make it better. So it's very cool. I think this document is extremely useful, and I think the layout and the breakdown of everything is very helpful and clear and concise. They also have a really cool section on marketing tactics and like how they reach out to people and get information to clients, which is very interesting, which would be like schools or personnel that could help out with the program. So that was a really interesting section to read as well. The voice of this document would be maybe an active and a united voice. I think it's definitely trying to, in a sense, rally the troops and get people motivated to be feeding these folks. So it's very cool, and it's not talking down to the individuals. It's a very united conversation where they are taking responsibility for wanting to help these folks out and saying we are one community and we're here to work together. So very interesting. Moving on for time's sake, the audience for this is potential stakeholders and supporters for sure, and maybe even potential clients and somewhat of a marketing tactic. I think that a stakeholder or a supporter of this program would find a lot of benefits from reading this document and also be very well informed about the progress and what has been going on with Feeding America. So it's, and it's likewise possible that potential clients and people who this type of program might be marketing to reach out to would certainly be reading this document, especially based on the recommendation section and the surveys they'd be taking at the end, because it's really asking what are they looking for. So yeah, something that I thought might have been missing from this document, they do give somewhat of a description on what might be provided as a food. So they've got fresh vegetables, fresh fruits, canned fruits, etc., grains, and even a breakdown of like maybe candies or packaged sweets and things like that. But there weren't really a lot of nutrition facts, which at the end of the day, this is a program that we are feeding people in need, which is, yes, very important, but I do think it would be very helpful to give a nutritional breakdown and to dig a little bit deeper into this and maybe get some people working in the program that have a nutrition background so that they can be examining not only, oh, are we throwing this food at people, but what is in the food that we're giving them, and is it really providing their body with the nutrients it needs. So I would have liked to see a more in-depth nutritional breakdown of what these folks are eating, how much they're eating, how is the portion control, and things like that. So that we're not only just trying to get food into these people's mouths, but we're also really trying to consider their long-term health. Other than that, they did have a lot of limitation sections, which they had like a limitation section in the data area. I thought that was really helpful, and I appreciate when limitations are laid out, because it means that they're forward thinking in this type of a program, which is very beneficial. So yeah, I think as far as all of the questions that we were asked to answer, that would be them. Other than that, I think this program is definitely having a large impact. I think this document provides that type of information. They even have a really cool section where they discuss how these kids are even getting to school or transporting to work. So they had like bus, public transit, bikes, walking, etc. That was a really cool addition that they didn't really need to add, but it was beneficial in trying to understand the community and the populations we're looking at, and essentially the target audience of the program itself. And yeah, overall, I think this program is having a large impact. They are considering not only feeding kids in schools, but they're also considering having delivery services to folks, which is where I think the major impact is happening, where there isn't an age gap. They're able to reach the young and the old and everything in between. And I think that makes this program very powerful and effective in a lot of ways. So overall, I think that this is a great program. I would like to see a little bit more of intentionality behind the nutrients and the portion control and things like that. But other than that, I think it's great.